Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm Jonathon Aslay of jonathonaslay.com, and I'm so excited to be doing this live stream for you today. Our topic, the 4 things men wished you knew about them. Let's get inside Guy's head. Let's get inside a guy's head. All right, really quickly, before we get started today, if you're new to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified of new content, and please hit that like button if you like the content. And at any time, if something I say resonates with you, please hit that like button, or just post a comment as well. All right, we're going to jump into the 4 things men wished you knew about them. And let me just say this, that for those of you that follow my channel know that I oftentimes kind of throw men under the bus in some way, shape, or form, centered around suggesting that they're rather clueless in the dating, mating, and relating process. Let me repeat that. I often throw men under the bus as being clueless when it comes to dating, mating, or relating. And it turns out that men have been watching my channel, and some of them have written me privately saying, hey, Jonathon, what about sharing our side of this and some of our frustrations and some of the things that we go through? So I thought, what a great chance to be able to share some of the comments that came to me recently. Now, I want to say something, though. What I'm about to share, the perception is going to come across as being whiny, In other words, it's going to sound like complaint. It's going to sound like lack of confidence or insecurity in men. And I'm here to suggest that what I'm about to share is very legit. In other words, from the male perspective, it is very legit. And why this is so critically important is that let me just say, it's hugely important that both men and women, I'm predominantly talking about heterosexual couples, men and women hear each other's point of view. And so, and as you know, ladies, I'm a big proponent of sharing your frustrations, and I understand many of your frustrations of the way men behave. Oftentimes, though, ladies, you're not hearing it from the other side. What about the frustrations we men feel in the dating process? So that's what I'm going to lean into today, is lean into some of the frustrations men feel in the dating process. And maybe, just maybe, we can come a little bit closer together instead of the divide that currently exists today. All right, so I'm going to put on my trusty glasses because I wrote this shortly before, or I wrote out some of the notes that from the guy shared. And again, for those who are on live, I just want to thank you all for being live. Very much appreciative of that. And a big shout out to Mindy. My book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? It turns out they're doing, there's a book club tonight on my book called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? And they're doing the first 7 chapters of my book. And I'm so excited because I just heard about that just now. Wow. I mean, I just have to say this really quickly. I had no idea that at some point when I wrote the book, there would be a book club doing the first 7 chapters of my book. So I'm very excited about that. All right, so let's just jump into those 4 things men wished you knew about them, and we're going to get inside a guy's head. Now, the first one I shared is the one that came up most frequently from several of the men who reached out to me. And what they said was, we men are just as scared of rejection as women. We men are just as scared of rejection as women. Ladies, there's this grand expectation that men are supposed to be chivalrous and claim you, and they just know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, and if they're apprehensive or insecure, they are weak men or lack confidence. Well, I'm here to say that, ladies, this is a 2-lane street. Men and women both fear rejection. In fact, we men might now, on some level, maybe we've been conditioned to experience it more because men tend to put themselves out there more. And yet what happens is, if we've been rejected over and over and over and over and over and over again, it can wear on our self-esteem. It can wear on our self-confidence, our self-worth. Our self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? To help shore up those pieces within us. Now, it's interesting. This past weekend, my son and I went out to breakfast. My son, Colin, right there. Most of you know my son, Connor, who passed away a couple years ago, because I talk about them frequently. But my son, Colin, and I went out to breakfast. I was really excited. And there was a woman there at the restaurant that he caught his eye. And after we finished our meal, he went over there to ask her number to see if she might be interested in meeting. And I believe that they did make eye contact a couple times throughout while we were having lunch. Now, she said no because she has a boyfriend. But what's interesting was he shared with me what he was feeling up until that point. What he was feeling is anxiety, fear, all these things were bubbling up. And while he was suppressing the anxiety, he was still feeling intense anxiety. And now, mind you, he's in his 20s. Imagine what this feels like to a man who's older. And I'm going to share that in one of the other comments as well. What I'm here to say is men and women alike, fear rejection. We fear this initial contact. This is why it's interesting, because the dating app Bumble, if you're not familiar with the dating app Bumble, here's what it looks like. This is just some of the pictures on it. Women make the first move. And for a lot of women, this is very uncomfortable for them. And the best that they can say is hi. So let me just say this. We men fear rejection. You fear rejection. So let's take the gender roles out of this and let's just start treating each other as human beings. What would you say to a total stranger that you just want to, connect with? Take out the expectations and just understand that connecting in this way is very awkward in this, certainly in the internet-based way, but certainly out in public as well. And this is why I'm a big proponent of having compassion for both oneself and for others. It takes a lot of courage. And for ladies, I understand the amount of courage it takes you to make that initial contact. Just recognize that we're feeling that fear as well. And that doesn't make us weak men, as I'm about to share with you in one of the other comments. It just makes us human, okay? Not weak men, human, okay? All right, so number one is we fear rejection just as much as you do. Number two, we men experience some of the same problems as you women because women can be avoidant or emotionally unavailable just like men. Let me repeat that. We men can experience the same thing you ladies experience. Avoidant personalities, unemotional people, people who ghost, people who disappear, people who are wishy-washy. We men experience that just as much as you women. You may, ladies, you oftentimes think like you hold the pedestal of all the, in other words, of all the bad behavior of men. And that didn't sound right, hold the pedestal, but I mean, hold the microphone, I should say, or the megaphone, that men are the bad people. But I'm just saying, but I want to say that avoidant attachment style and emotionally unavailable people is both for men and women alike. This is why I'm such a big proponent of reading the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, because this will help you get a greater understanding of attachment styles. And to piggyback on that book, I highly recommend getting the book Getting the Love You Want by Harvell Hendrix and Helen Hunt. This will help you understand why we tend to, be the way we are from an emotionally unavailable or avoidant personality. And ladies, many of you are experiencing the same things that we men are experiencing much of the same things you are when it comes to, dismissive avoidant or fearful avoidance or that sort of thing. I can tell you, I've had plenty of women that I've engaged with from a dating perspective that are actual avoidance. Now, the irony is I'm an anxious attachment style, or that's my default attachment style. I've done a lot of work to heal my attachment style. And I'm just here to say that we experience it just like you do. It's not one size fits all. In other words, one gender fits all. We men experiences it as well. By the way, if this is resonating with you, please hit that like button. If I've said something that, you feel is worth giving a thumbs up for, please do that so more people get notified of this video. All right. And don't forget, I'm going to take questions. And by the way, if you do have a question for me, post the word question or purchase a super chat so I can see the question in the chat box. Purchase a super chat or write the word question if you have a question. And by the way, anyone who does purchase a super chat, I'm beginning a foundation for Connor. Hopefully in the next year. I'm trying to talk to some attorneys to create a foundation. So all the monies from super chats and super stickers will go to that. Okay, number 3. We men are not any better at dating just because we are older. And we experience a lot of what women, we are not any better at dating because we're older. And let me get to where I'm going with this one. All right. So my son, Colin, as I shared with you, walked up to a total stranger and asked for a number. Okay. Well, here I'm in my 50s and I've been going to the same restaurant during the pandemic with my friends once a month. And there's someone, a manager there that I would like to ask out, but I'm absolutely petrified and afraid. So let me just be honest. Just because I'm older doesn't make me any better at dating. And just because I'm older doesn't necessarily make me any better at communicating. And so the reason why I bring this up is I've had women say, well, gosh, the man's in his 50s. He should just be better at dating. No, it's quite the opposite. Quite frankly, for so many men and women, they might be coming off of a divorce and they haven't been out in the market for decades. Maybe 20 or 30 years. So their capacity to be good at dating is actually a very weak skill. This is why I'm such a big proponent of people purchasing the book, If the Buddha Dated. If the Buddha Dated, this allows us to sink into a more inner-peaced way of dating rather than the rules-based way of dating. The rules is just a piece of garbage that's all based on reverse psych. By the way, it's my opinion it's garbage. I'm not saying it is garbage. My perception of it is just a bunch of reverse psychology game playing that works temporarily. It does work temporarily. It doesn't work in the long run. What works in the long run is self-love, beginning a daily practice of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. That's my invitation for you. All right. So just because we're older doesn't make us any better. Is this sinking in? Please let me know by hitting that like button. Okay. And the 4th thing that men wish you knew, but we don't say it out loud, is that we do seek a deep connection, but often we just don't know how. Let me repeat that. We seek a deep connection, but we don't know how. Hence, ladies, I say women are the emotional leaders of the relationship and not men. And so many of you ask me, how can I be the emotional leader of the relationship? You lead by example. You lead by example by learning how to express yourself in a healthy way. This is why I'm a big proponent of reading the book Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. If anyone's read this book, hit the like button or post it. I want to know. This is a great book because it piggybacks on my book, because chapter 1 of my book is Speak Your Truth, Do It with Kindness. And later on in the book, there's a chapter called If It's Sincere and From the Heart, You Can't Say the Wrong Thing to the Right Person. I'm putting both of these books up. Why this is so critically important, ladies, is you are the emotional leaders of the relationship. We men are thirsty and dying. Many men, not all. Okay, a lot of emotionally avoidant men are incapable of it. But I'm just going to tell you this. Men are thirsty to want to open up on their emotional level, especially as they get older. It's just we don't know how and we don't feel safe. This is why I'm such a big proponent of the dating process being a 2-lane street instead of it being a process of romance and expectations. Traditionally, dating has been centered around romance and expectations of what the genders are supposed to do. This is why I'm so effing tired of the whole masculine and feminine rhetoric, because it sets everyone up for failure. And this whole expectation-based way of dating is killing the chance of two people, especially the expectation of romance, is killing really great opportunities for people to connect at a heart-centered level. This is why I highly recommend reading these two books. First off, How to Be an Adult in a Relationship, How to Be an Adult in a Relationship, and follow up with 8 Dates by Dr. John and Julie Gottman. If you follow my work, you know I talk about this frequently. And by the way, someone the other day posted a comment, said, I don't have time to read books. If someone doesn't have time to read books that can help their love life, then you have no busy business, in my opinion, even putting yourself out there to get a love life. If you don't know the mechanics to a healthy, happy relationship, if you don't understand human behavior, if you don't understand really what chemistry is really all about, and understanding the importance of emotional maturity and shared values and blendable lifestyles, and I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, and if you can't read these books, then buy the audio or go on YouTube and watch some of the videos on them. I'm not here to teach you these books. I'm here to direct you to places that can improve your love life. And if you want some support from a coaching perspective that's individualized to yourself, then check out the link to here, I'll put it in the chat, to a free discovery call with me. In fact, I might be giving out a free coaching session. So anyone who really quickly, anyone who fills out my coaching form that is listening right now, I'm going to be giving away one free coaching session to anyone who fills out the form because they genuinely fills out an application for coaching and is genuinely interested in coaching. So check out the link in there, or check out the link in the description if you're listening to this on the replay. All right, so really to recap those 4 things, and we're going to be taking questions in a second. Those 4 are: we are just as scared as rejection as women are. We experience some of the same problem as women when it comes to avoidant women and emotionally unavailable women. We are not any better just because we're older. And let me just piggyback on one more thing. A lot of people, as they get older, act entitled, men and women alike. And this is what's killing a lot of relationship, is entitled behavior and not compassionate behavior. And the 4th thing is we genuinely seek deep connection. We often just don't know how to do it. This is why I'm a big proponent that women are the leaders, emotional leaders of the relationship. And you lead by leading by example. All right, if this sunk in, please hit that like button and share this with your friends. All right, we're going to take questions in a second. Write the word question in the chat box. By the way, for those that are watching the replay, the questions are the best part, so you're going to want to watch, you're going to want to listen to this. All right, really quickly before I do go into questions, I do want to share something with you. It's a Monday night. I'm bored. I've been lonely. I got recently rejected from a dating perspective. Not rejected, but there was a mutual rejection that happened on what I shared with you guys last week. So, and it took its toll on me. And the best way for me to get out of my melancholy mood, and I'll be candid with you, I was feeling melancholy over Connor as well, is just to speak to you all and share what my perspective. Some people call it wisdom. I just call it my perspective. And I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all the love and support you've given me in so many areas of my life. And I do my best to give and give and give to all of you as well. And I hope you receive. All right, I've got my Moscow Mule. We're ready to take questions, but we're going to do a trivia question first. Because everyone who knows me, I like to do these movie quiz. And the first one is, which song plays on the radio each day in the movie Groundhog? Which song plays on the radio each day in the movie Groundhog? Let's see who can get that right. All right, now we're going to check the Q&A board. Okay. Wow, we got lots of comments. Why should you fear rejection? Boo said. Why should I? Because when someone says no to you, or maybe is not interested in you, I'm not saying it's a valid reason to feel less than, but that's what it feels like. So why should we? I think the challenge is really overcoming the fear. And sometimes, like my son did the other day, he repressed the fear and persevered, but the fear still exists. So, I mean, I don't even know. I have a hard time commenting on that, Boo, because why should why should you fear rejection? It's just a human thing. I don't know what else to say. Okay, Lindsay writes, Jonathan, you need a list of all these books in one place so I can read them one by one. Lindsay, check out the link to Jonathan Recommends books in the description. If you can't see it right now, go to one of my other YouTube videos, scroll in there. It's jonathanaslay.com/Jonathan-recommends. I have all these books listed there. Hope that helps. Linda writes, I love the book Attached and Getting the Love You Want. Way to go. Mindy writes, go, Jonathan. You can do it. Thanks, rooting for you. Someone again says, where are all your books? And the Jonathan Recommends. Click on the link, Jonathan Recommends. Okay, Mindy writes, question. I know sex is important to a relationship. Moreover, I'm waiting to have sex until marriage. How do I navigate dating knowing that I have a boundary in that area? That's a great question. So I think the most important thing, if you are absolutely certain that you're not going to engage in sexual intercourse until you're married, then I would only be communicating with men who feel exactly the same way. Now, given that 99% of men out in the dating realm don't operate that way, then now that percentage is higher when you are in a community of people that feel that way. So it increases your odds when you're in that community of people that feel that way. I don't know where that community exists. I do suspect it's probably church related, but I would say the vast majority of men don't subscribe to that. So my first question would be, hey, you clearly put on your profile. I mean, now you're going to be eliminating 99% of men from interest, and the person that feels the same way, if they find your profile attractive or find you attractive, and I don't mean physically attractive, I'm talking energetic attraction, will want to lean in and get to know you. My suggestion is if that's an absolute deal breaker for you, then you have to find someone else that's their way of operating. And that's my invitation for you, Mindy. I hope that helps. Okay, Andre, give me the woman's name and I'll make a request for you. Andrea, thank you. You know what? She happens, the truth is, the woman that I was speaking of, she's just way too young for me. And that's my primary reason that I'm not doing it. I just think that there's a big age difference. And as much as you ladies think we men all want younger women, that's not always the case, okay? I want someone who's a contemporary, someone that's within 5 to 10 years of my age range so we can have, well, not to suggest someone younger couldn't have stimulating conversation, but I just want someone who's more closer to my age, and that's the reason why. Thank you so much, Andrea. All right, Nadia writes, I agree, but how can we get men to the heart level when they want to have sex too soon before friendship develops? Okay, that's a great question. So, the reality is let's face it, relationships today, no disrespect to Mindy, who wants to remain, wants to wait for marriage. Sex is part of the decision-making process when it comes to choosing, a relationship. Sex is part of the process. And let's face it, a lot of women say to me, I want to have sex rather quickly to make sure we're compatible sexually, because if we're not compatible sexually, I don't want to pursue a relationship with someone. So I'm getting itchy right now. By the way, it is hailing. I mean, it is wailing outside. It is a blustery day. I don't know if you hear the wind, but it's crashing up against my balcony. For those who know me, I know I live by the ocean, and it is, it's blowing really hard. So how do you develop the friendship? Well, you do social activities and hobbies and mutual interest outside of your home. That's how you spend time outside of your home to do things together, and that's how you can build the friendship. But ultimately, God dang it, now I'm itchy. If two people want to explore a relationship, sex is part of the decision-making process. I'm not going to wait months to have sex. I'll be candid with you and anyone I'm interested in. I suspect sex is going to happen somewhere between the 3rd and 10th date, somewhere in that range. Now, I'm not suggesting that's the way you have to operate, but I'm suggesting that is part of the decision-making process, certainly for men and many women alike. Now, how do you build a friendship? Have deeper conversations instead of this bullshit surface conversation. How's it doing? How are you doing? How's your day going? I hope you're having a good day. Are you having a good day? I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're having a really good day. Wow. Really wishing you a really great day. The rhetoric here drives me nuts of how the surface level conversations there are, especially between human beings. Now, I'm going to find one of my memes on my Instagram that I want to share with you. It's going to take a second to find. I should repost it. It's one of my all-time favorites that illustrates this point. And hopefully, Nadia, this will help you. So the meme says this. I'm going to share it right here. I hate small talk. I want to talk about atoms, death, aliens, sex, magic, intellect, the meaning of life, faraway galaxies, music that makes you feel different, memories, the lies you've told, your flaws, your favorite scent, your childhood, what keeps you up at night, your insecurity and fears. I like people with depth who speak with emotion from a twisted mind. I don't want to know what's up. That's how you build the friendship, is you have deeper, meaningful conversations instead of this bullshit surface conversations and the bullshit expectation of romance instead of actually building the friendship. By the way, my pants bunched up around my crotch, and that's why I was moving around. All right. Let's see. Jonathan, why does a man... Oh, let me go back. Kelia Perez writes, why does a man tell you about his ex if we are just dating? All right. So a lot of people who are wounded will talk about their past relationships if they haven't healed from their wounds. They'll talk about it from typically a complaining perspective or a victim perspective. Let me repeat that. They will typically talk about a past relationship from a complaining perspective or a victim perspective because they haven't healed from that past relationship. And that is most likely why that person is doing that. All right, which is why they need my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? All right, if you want to post a question, write the word question first so I can see it. By the way, do it in caps, or if you want, purchase a super sticker or a super chat, and that way I'll see them much quicker. All right. Jennifer writes, I've been on 4 dates and I don't want to see him anymore, but he's very, very interested. Is it okay to break it off over text? Okay, great question. Can you break it off over text? Abso-fucking-lutely. Yes, you can. You know what? What are we going to do? Drive over to someone's house. Drive over to someone's house and say, hey, by the way, I want to let you know I don't want to see you anymore. I mean, really? Or worse, you have them drive over to your house for you to tell them you don't want to see anymore. I mean, I guess you can meet halfway as well. But I want you to picture that. Better to rip the Band-Aid off and you simply write a text and you use what's called the Oreo cookie. The Oreo cookie. You start with something positive. Hey, Tim, I really enjoyed getting to know you. You're a really great guy. Upon further reflection, I realized that we are misaligned and this doesn't feel comfortable for me to pursue a relationship with you. And for now, I just want to wish you all your best on your journey. And if you need me for anything, I'm more than welcome to talk about it. Boom, done, get it over with. Yes, you can do it over text, or now, if you've been intimate with each other, it's only been 4 dates. I would say if you've been intimate with each other and you called yourself boyfriend and girlfriend, yes, that deserves to be over the telephone or face-to-face. Although my ex-girlfriend and I, we got into a nasty fight over a text message once and broke up for about, well, actually that breakup, well, we eventually did have a face-to-face, but I'm not a big proponent of fighting over text because that can lead to a breakup over text. If this is resonating with you, please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it so more people get notified of this live stream. All right. Thank you, M-A-J-D-A. I appreciate that. I've Got You, Babe. That's correct. That's the song that was playing in the movie Groundhog Day. Well done. And we have more movie movie quiz questions coming up. All right. Jennifer writes, I've learned rejection is God's protection. Let me find that. I've learned rejection is God's protection. I've been rejected by tons of men and used to get bummed out and sad, but finally learned that I'm being saved from someone not right for me. Yes, there is a spiritual reason why this is happening, and it's an opportunity to love ourselves. It still fucking sucks to feel rejected. Let's be real. When we put ourselves out there, and I don't care how I'm looking, let me backtrack. I'm only going to speak for myself. It sucks when you put yourself out there and you're vulnerable with someone and they say no. Or better yet, you've been communicating with someone, you've developed a little bit of rapport, and then they say no. That even feels more painful because you put yourself out there and been vulnerable with another human being. And I know this, oh my God, because I'm a kind of guy that, for lack of a better word, puts his heart on his sleeve. And what that really means is I'm unafraid to be vulnerable, authentic, and transparent. I am courageous enough to be vulnerable, authentic, and transparent. The challenge is I might be TMI at times. And when you're TMI with someone who's not ready for it, it can feel like too much for them. I still go about it this way because that's how I choose to be: vulnerable, authentic, and transparent, the best I can. Pretty much the way the 4 agreements. If you're not familiar with the book 4 Agreements, I highly recommend checking it out. 4 Agreements. All right, hit that like button if this is resonating with you. I've got more questions to take. All right. Thank you, Jennifer, by the way. Linnea writes, I agree 100%. Last guy I dated was not sexually compatible for me, and it was a deal breaker for me. Glad I found out sooner rather than later. Yes, I mean, let's face it, sexual, hey, look at my age, there are, the road in front of me isn't as long as the road behind me. Although my dad is 95 years old, so maybe the road is still going to be plenty ahead of me. I want to have some great sex before my equipment falls off. And so, yeah, it's really important to choose a partner where you're compatible sexually. And sadly, a lot of people aren't good at it. This is why in the book, 8 Dates, it's one of the important conversations is to talk sex. It's on chapter 2, I believe. No, chapter... Oh, no. Chapter 3 about intimacy. So this is really important stuff. By the way, check out the book. By the way, Jonathon recommends books are all listed there. All right. Marlene says sexual compatibility is very important. Kim writes, sex is like buying shoes. I won't buy a pair of shoes without trying them on first. It's simple. See? So it's not just men who are, gravitating towards sex. You ladies want it just as much as men, and you want really good sex. Kelly writes, yes, connection is so important. Some people can't or choose not to go deep. That's true, Kelly. Mindy writes, I'll tell you what. Throw sex out the window until marriage, and you learn quickly how to have a deep and interesting conversation because you learn to lead with your mind and wits instead of your body. I agree. However, we are human, and I fully agree. We are human beings driven by our biology, and men in particular are highly driven by our biological drive to spread our seed. It's and so does anyone remember the movie Something About Mary with Ben Stiller and Cameron Diaz? Okay. And Ben Stiller has a date with Cameron Diaz, and his friend has said, have you masturbated yet? And he goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, don't you masturbate before a first date? He goes, no. He goes, well, then all you're thinking about is sex during the date. If you masturbate ahead of time, he says, the baby out with the batter. I think that's the line. I can't remember exactly what's said, but there's actually some value to that. And I've tried it myself because then we're not biologically so amped up to, be so focused on sex. So, I mean, not that most men are going to do that, but I do like what was shared in the movie. And I do agree, Mindy. when we take out the sexual component, you have a greater chance of connecting with someone's heart. I'm just sharing with you the way human beings operate. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way it is. This is why it's, unfortunately, because we no longer live in tribes. We no longer live in villages. We no longer live in small towns where we got to know people at a much deeper level, nor do we actually have a social circle where everybody knows everyone, like in a village, that it is much harder. I fully agree. And this is why in my coaching practice, I teach you how to vet for emotional maturity. Because ladies, if you're not able to choose emotionally mature men, you could be going down this road you could be like Groundhog Day going over this over and over and over again. And I get how frustrating that is. All right, let's do another trivia question right now before we take a question. And this question is, who starred alongside Justin Timberlake in the movie Friends with Benefits? Let's see who gets this one. Who starred alongside Justin Timberlake in the movie Friends with Benefits? All right, let's take some more questions. Yes, Lakeisha writes, deeper, meaningful By the way, I apologize for butchering people's names. I'm terrible at names. Nadia writes, I also hate small talk and makes me crazy. I want the friendship, but I think many older men are so lonely. So how do we get this lovely being together during COVID at 10 feet apart? Well, first off, thankfully, the world is opening up now. Texas, other places are. California is now opening up. I live in California. We can go to restaurants now, only 20% capacity. I think if two people have been vaccinated or people, the reality is we're seeing a significant decline in the need to worry about COVID. I'm not saying you shouldn't worry about it, but the reality is if you want to date, you got to do it face to face. And it takes 100 hours of face-to-face time to get to know another human being. If you're not capable of investing that, then wait until you are. Or you can do it virtually through your telephone, but here's the problem with virtual connection. You've spent days and weeks and hours and months and years connecting over the phone, but it isn't real until you meet face to face. That's why when I talked to that long distance person recently, and we talked over the phone for hours a couple times, and it didn't work out. And it feels like such a letdown because all of that time is invested. Ultimately, Nadia, if you're not going to, until you're ready to do face-to-face dating, my suggestion is you can certainly do virtual dating. You can, but just remember, it's not real until it's face-to-face. Is this sinking in? If it is, please hit that like button. Thank you so much. Karen writes, nope. Let me go back. Karen writes, if seeing a guy regularly for a couple months but no exclusive talk, how do you bring it up with him without sounding, I don't trust him? Well, I'm confused of why you would suggest that it's not a trust issue. So how do you bring up the exclusive conversation? First and foremost, ladies, I always recommend talking about before the penis gets to go inside the vagina, you have the conversation about exclusive sex, okay? In other words, monogamy. In other words, the way any woman I'm dating, I'm very simple. When we are sexually intimate, I'm monogamous. And when I'm having sexual activity with someone, I do not pursue other people. I'm very point blank about that. And I always say, how do you operate? How do you operate? Okay, that's what I say. How do you operate? Do you subscribe to monogamy and exclusivity, or are you the type of person that would like to duty date or circular date multiple men? Because if that's who you are, bye-bye from Jonathan's point of view. Because ladies, I don't believe in dating multiple people at the same time. Now, that's okay to talk to multiple people at the same time. I'm talking about regular dating where you're kissing each other and eventually having sex with one another. So you're 4 months into it. How do you have the exclusivity conversation? First off, you express your needs. Let me repeat that. You express your desires, you express your needs, whatever they may be. Just remember, in my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? So what that might sound like is, hey, Tim, I'm at a point in our relationship where I have, it's very important to me to know that I'm in relationship with someone who's not actively putting themselves out there and seeking a relationship with someone else, especially since we're having sex. So I'd like to know, where is your head at with respects to this? Are you actively pursuing other people, or is it just the two of us? Are we exclusively dating? You just asked the question. Remember, in my book, if it's sincere and from the heart, you can never say the wrong thing to the right person. Get my book. It's called selflovethebook.com. All right. I hope that helps, Karen. Hello from Kenya, Amal. Okay. Miss Malik says, do men care about women's careers and finance if they find her attractive? We care to the extent that I think human beings, both men and women alike, would prefer to date someone who has a stable job or stable income and is financially secure. So to the extent that we care, we mostly care that most humans can take care of themselves. And so now women tend to be more attracted to the greater the job the man has, the greater status he has, the more attractive he is. Do we men find women who have status and job as attractive? Yeah, emotionally mature men do. Emotionally immature men can be insecure for a variety of reasons. But do you really want to date an emotionally immature man? I highly doubt it. Hope that answers your question. Nadia writes, yes, you are saved from them. Okay. Jane writes, worry about, okay, sorry. Question, Kim writes, what, in your opinion, constitutes sexual compatibility? I'm about to end 14 years of celibacy and would appreciate any advice. Wow. You know what? That's a personal question. You know, Kim, what does sexual compatibility mean to you? I mean, does it mean that you don't like oral sex or you do like oral sex? Do you like missionary position or do you like doggy style? You know, it's really what's most important. The question for you to ask is, what is compatible for you? And know what that is. And I in my area of expertise isn't per se sex, but I will say what's most important in any dating process is to be empowered with knowing what you want and then find people who are aligned to who you are and what you want. That would be my invitation for you, Kim. I hope it helps and I wish you luck. Okay, Ross writes, I didn't know it was that challenging for me, but they should masturbate before. I didn't know it was that challenging for me that they should masturbate before a date. I'm just suggesting what the movie suggested, so take it for what it's worth. Jennifer writes, sexual chemistry is so important. I believe Esther Perel has talked about sexual compatibility for successful relationships. Yes, folks, purchase the book, Mating in Captivity. She says one of the downfalls of most more seasoned relationship is a lack of erotic connection. Let me repeat that. She says one of the downfalls for most seasoned relationships is a lack of erotic connection. And so I highly recommend this book, and I highly recommend Barbara D'Angela's book, Getting the Love You Want, or How to Make Love All the Time. This isn't a sex book. This is how to be intimate with your partner at a heart-centered level. By the way, Nadia, Nadia, I want to recommend you getting this book as well, so you can connect with your heart from a heart-centered level, and this will help you lead by example for a man to connect to his heart. So Jennifer, you are right on. Esther Perel rocks it. All right, let's take another trivia question. Oh, this is a Disney question. Who was, by the way, did anyone ever get the other question right? I didn't see it. The Groundhog Day question. Okay, so this question is, who was the first Disney princess? Who was the first Disney princess? All right, let's go back and look at questions. Oh, by the way, Mila Kunis, that's right, the movie Friends with Benefits. And yes, we did get the other one to get right. Okay, Something About Mary is one of my favorite movies. I'm one of my all-time favorites too. Jane writes, I think about sex all the time. Perimenopausal has made me crave it more and more. Please, before things stop working. I get it. Sex changes the entire dynamic. That's true. All right, talk about a lot of money in relationships. Shouldn't we be equally yoked? Talk about a lot of money in relationships. Eppley writes, shouldn't we be equally yoked? What I love about the book, If the Buddha Dated, it talks about dating from a spiritual perspective, and from a dating perspective, it subscribes to what I believe. Two people should invest financially equally in the getting to know you period. Let me repeat that. Two people should equally be investing financially in the getting to know you period. It is not based on this stupid fucking book, the rules. I'm sorry, ladies. I know you all want men to be chivalrous and to pay for things. But if you really want to connect with a guy, then put your money where your mouth is too, and say, hey, you know what? I really appreciated that you treated, the last 2 dates. I'd like to show my appreciation, take you out next time, and we can take turns. By the way, men will respect you far greater when you actually invest financially in the relationship. And I did a study with over 15,000 men, and over 1,000 men commented and said the following: when a woman financially invests in the relationship, she's a unicorn. She's one of a kind. She's a keeper. She's a partner. So I'm here to say, by the way, I know many of you prefer the traditional expectation. We got to throw traditional shit out the window, because if that's working so great, then keep doing what you're doing. I'm here to say, if you really want to impress a guy, say to him, hey, look, I really appreciated you treated on our first date. I'd like to treat you the next time we go out, or I'd like to treat for breakfast, or I'd like to treat for something else. Because it's coming from a place of generosity and not from a place of expectation. I know you bought into this whole bullshit masculine and feminine shit, which you all know, if you follow my work, you know I can't stand that bullshit rhetoric, because a lot of it is misinformed. Ladies, I'm all for empowerment. Ladies, I am all for female empowerment. I'm all for male empowerment. I'm all for human empowerment. This is why I recommend book after my book, and this book and that book. I recommend this book, Daring Greatly. I'm all about empowerment, not based on your gender or whether or not you have a penis or vagina, based on your humanity. And so from a dating perspective, I highly recommend you equally invest in the relationship and watch men actually invest more in you. By the way, I've had my clients do this. They simply said on the second or third date, said, hey, I'd like to treat. Do you know how many of the men said, wow, you're one of a kind? They actually want to get to know you more, because it's not big. Now, some of you might say some men might get angry at you. If a man gets angry at your generosity, do you want to date a man that gets angry? And if a man tries to control the situation, I'm going to tell you something. You're setting yourself up for being with a control freak. Okay? Anyone who gets angry or tries to control the situation, just because under the guise of masculine chivalry, if it's coming from a place of upset or anger, then he negated your generosity. Do you want to be with someone who negates your generosity? No, you want to be with someone who can receive your generosity. Let me just share with you all something. This is a note I have on my front door. Okay? It's a note I see every day. It says, open and receptive to love. Open and receptive to love. By the way, the word easy is there because it should be, when you're open and receptive to love, it happens easier. There's no conflict. There's no friction going on when you're open and receptive to another human being, whether it's a man or a woman. We need to become more open and receptive to one another. Is this sinking in? Please tell me it is. Hit that like button if this is resonating with you. And if you're angry that I'm suggesting you put your money where your mouth is, I'm not your coach, okay? And I'm okay with that. There's plenty of coaches that are going to pander to the egoic way of dating. I'm here to pander to the heart-centered way of connecting with another human being, or at least that's my invitation. Wow, that was a big rant. Let's see if anyone got the Disney question right. Okay. I offer to pay, they usually decline. See, at least the offer demonstrate, that's great. As a man, if a woman offers to pay or tells me how appreciative she was that I paid, she is very rare and makes me as a man feel good. Let me read. By the way, ladies, this is coming from a guy. He says, as a man, if a woman offers to pay and or tells me how appreciative she is that I did pay, she is very rare and makes me as a man feel good. Remember, this topic is 4 things men wished you knew. Let me just tell you, there's the 5th thing that I forgot to add here, and that's the part. We men feel so unappreciated for our efforts because of this whole fucking backwards, patriarchal way that this whole dating process was set up. And men today want to feel just as appreciated as women do. And when men feel appreciated, they lean into the relationship. They don't lean back. They lean into the relationship, just like this man shared. Thank you so much for validating what I said. Mindy says, I pay for my portion of a date or pay for the tip, or if he gets the bill this time, I get the bill next time. I love that. By the way, I'll never forget. I had a date with a woman once, and we had a really good time. And I paid. By the way, I typically pay because I want to show generosity. I've been conditioned that way. We were leaving the place. We had both parked. It was public parking. We had to pay for the parking. And her car was in front of me. And when she had paid for her parking, we'd already said goodnight. And as I was leaving, the parking attendant said she picked up your parking. It was like $5. I got to tell you, that totally touched me. I mean, I'm still to this day, this was 10 years ago. I still feel it viscerally. I feel that generosity viscerally. I can't tell you how few women, I should say, make that kind of effort. And so whenever it happens, I am floored. I still, to this day, I can vividly remember that action of generosity. And I've had hundreds of dates in my lifetime. So you want to make an impact on a guy? Pick up the valet the next time. Say, I've got it. Show that you're going to invest in getting to know him. If you want a second date, if you expect to see this person a second time. Anyway, that's my suggestion. I guess I'm dating once a month at Panera. That is what I can afford. Maybe some of us shouldn't date because we can't afford to. I disagree, Jess. Let's face it. Being in a relationship is an investment. It's an investment of resources. It's an investment of time. It's an investment of energy. And so if you're capable of going out with your girlfriends on a night out, then you're capable of investing with a guy. I do believe that. If you're unable to invest, or if you're unable to pay for your fair share when you go out with your girlfriends, then I have to ask you, what are you going to contribute in the relationship? Because one of the fundamentals, going back to the book 8 Dates, is the money conversation. Now, you can have a man that pays for everything. That's certainly capable. But guess what happens when a man pays for everything? He gets the permission to blow you off whenever he wants. And this is psychologically true for a lot of ego-based men. If they've paid for everything, then they feel entitled to ghost you, ditch you whenever they want. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying emotionally immature men have that capacity. This is why it's important to have conversations early on and talk about these things rather than creating it from a place of expectation. But here's the deal, Jess. You can absolutely go out with a guy. And by the way, you could date a rich guy too, and he might cover everything. Don't be unafraid. Just don't be unafraid to date. Be confident to talk about it. That's what I want to invite you, is to talk about things. Let's see. Some messages have been retracted. Oh, Snow White, you got it right, Cheryl. Jess writes, I'm not able to go out with my friends often, so I got it. Got you. Okay. Let's see if there's any. Jess, it's about being together, not always spending money on a date. There are many cheap options or free options. That's absolutely true. There are a lot of different ways. In fact, with my most significant relationship, our first few dates where we just got together for drinks at each other's homes, We weren't unafraid to be in each other's homes. We had a bottle of wine and we chatted over appetizers. There's so many, by the way, ladies, you know what we should be doing? Instead of the grand expectation of being taken out, how about we spend more time hanging out? Hanging out is actually how you get to know another human being instead of going out. How about hang out together? Now, this is tricky because we're meeting strangers these days. This is why it's important to vet people. And if you have to vet for, you might even have to do background checks to do this. Let's just hope that you can vet by looking at their Facebook page, by looking at their social media, finding out who their friends are. I'm a big proponent of asking a shitload of questions early on before you ever get too deep with another human being. And that's my invitation. But now, some people say, oh, someone just wrote, hanging out leads to Netflix and chill. Slippery slope. That's bullshit. I disagree. You know, if you're saying a relationship is, now, by the way, most married couples, all they did during the pandemic was Netflix and chill, okay? So I'm just here to say it's just one form of doing something. And it's not, if you're talking with one, and now I agree, watching movies over and over and over again isn't healthy, but you can watch a movie and then discuss it, or you can watch a documentary and discuss it, or you can watch a YouTube video together and discuss it. That's how you get to know another human being, is talk to one another, and that's what I'm inviting everyone to do. All right, and Netflix could be cuddle time. Yes, indeed. All right, I'm going to ask one more question before we wrap up today. And that is, all right, I mentioned Ben Stiller. So we have a Ben. In what film does Ben Stiller play a life insurance underwriter who falls in love with a former classmate? In what film does Ben Stiller play a life insurance underwriter who falls in love with his former classmate? Let's see who gets that right. All right. Daniel writes, and this will be our last question for the evening. Avoidant guy friend. We've been friends for a year, had sex a couple times, still friends. Now he asked me if I thought he would be good boyfriend. Should I assume he was asking with me as a potential girlfriend? I don't assume anything. All right, the book, The Four Agreements. Don't make assumptions. Just simply ask, can you be more clear on what you're talking about? Can you be more clear about what you're talking about? It's as simple as that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to stop being afraid to ask questions. That's the real fear. Going back to the fear of rejection is fear of not getting the answer you want. How about just coming from a place of curiosity? By the way, the movie was Along Came Polly, not Something About Mary. Yes, the movie is Along Came Polly. So I'm here to say, if you want to find out should I assume if he was asking me as a potential girlfriend, how about just asking him, are you talking about me or someone else? Ladies, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. Speak your truth. Just do it with kindness. Come from a place of curiosity. As I said in the beginning of this video, I shared with you that one of the most important things is that we should have compassion for the sexes and not expectation based on the sexes. If we throw out the expectations and just treat each other as human beings, we have a greater chance of connecting at a heart-centered level. And I'm here to say, men are thirsty to connect there. All you have to do is speak up and watch them dive in, or at least it's an invitation to dive in. Not all men are capable, just like not all women are capable. If you're capable, do it and see what happens. And that's my invitation for you. All right, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for allowing me into your home. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button right before we sign off tonight. And those who know me know, first off, guess who joined us before we're wrapping up? Salty. That's Connor's nickname, Salty, and this is my stuffed animal, Salty. So I'm going to wrap up this live stream as I always do. First off, giving myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a stuffed animal, or a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. and we can all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye now.